Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney. Well, how are things going?
Well, I was diagnosed with a new disease this week.
Oh no.
Your face. I did not prepare you for this one at all.
You did not at all.
I have Raynaud's.
Is it like RAYN something?
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I do not remember what it is.
It is a vascular disease, which basically results in really, really shitty circulation. On Monday, it dropped down to about 5 degrees here in Buffalo, and my hands turned gray.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. My best friend, one of my best friends told me I looked like I had corpse fingers. She was very concerned. She was like, if I hadn't been sitting with you for the last 2 hours, I would have thought you were finger painting before you came in here. And I was like, yeah. There's no,
Oh my gosh.
it's basically something that there's no real like cure for, and treatment is really only dependent on how severe it gets. But yeah, so that was my journey this week.
What did you do?
Well, basically they upped my dose of vitamin D that I take every day, and I'm no longer allowed to take anything that has any kind of pseudoephedrine in it.
That's a bummer.
And as of right now, that's really all I'm doing. If it continue, like if I start to have more frequent flare-ups, there are like hypertension medication that they can give you that just basically like relaxes your blood vessels so that your blood flow happens better. But that is something that they don't want you to take unless it becomes like a chronic issue.
Right.
So I just have to like be aware that sometimes my fingers and toes might just go numb.
Okay. That's not great, but okay.
Yeah. So that was my week.
Well, I was going to tell you about a really fun thing I did.
No, I love it. Please do tell me about fun things.
Okay. I had a very fancy night on Monday. My fingers were not gray, which is good. I went out, I had a girls' night with my work friend Vanessa. She works at the bar with me. And she also made me homemade biscottis for Christmas, which are delicious. And I've been eating them all week. We went to this place called Bar Boulad. I don't know how you say it. That's what I'm guessing. It's a French restaurant. And we did this like 3-course dinner, and I had like escargot and branzino, and then I had this pumpkin caramel brulee for dessert. It was super fancy. And then we went across the street to the Metropolitan Opera House, and it was my first time to go to an opera.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me it was your first time at the opera.
Yeah, and I saw Cinderella. And it was so good. We had such a great time. And I forgot my keys at work because I switched from my big bag to my little purse. But thankfully, when I got home, one of my neighbors was leaving and he just let me in the door. And I have a code on my actual apartment door. So I don't need a key for that one. But it was so much fun.
I love that. I love the opera.
Yes. I also love the opera. I did not know. But I don't recognize anything that's coming soon, which is a bummer.
Sucks.
I know. I mean, I recognize, like, is it Rigoletti? I've heard of that one, but I don't know it. I've just heard of it. And then the rest I've, like, never even heard of. And I was like, okay, well.
I'm looking it up right now to tell you if there's anything you should see.
Yes, you should, because
schedule.
Get relatively.
This Saturday... La Notte di Figaro.
Oh, yes, I've also heard of that one. I am working though.
Well, Figaro is also playing next Wednesday and next Saturday.
Okay, I do not have my work schedule for next week.
Oh, well, because that's one of the ones that they have in rotation for this
Yeah,
like month. So that's playing a bunch of times this month.
I did see that.
I love Figaro. It's my favorite.
I haven't seen it, so I don't like know it, but I've heard of it.
And La Boheme is playing this month too.
Oh, is it? I also know that. I must have looked. They didn't have all of those. Well, they didn't have La Boheme in their little booklet.
Because this month's rotation is Rigoletto, La Nozze di Figaro, Tosca, and La Boheme.
I've heard of all of those.
Yeah, they're all fantastic.
Maybe it wasn't. We have a song from La Boheme in our catalog. Like La Boheme. That's it's in our catalog, the song.
La Boheme is the inspiration for Rent.
I know. Don't worry. I know.
Okay.
I love Rent. Yeah, so I would like to go to the opera more often. It's not too far from me. It's at Lincoln Center, so it's super close. And I also learned today what the new Girl Scout cookie is going to be, because Girl Scout cookie season is coming up. And I think it might be my new favorite. It's called Adventurefuls, and it's like sea salt and caramel. Oh. And I'm not a big caramel person, but I love sea salt and caramel when you put them together. It's like my favorite thing. So pretty stoked.
I just still can't get over the fact that the dulce de leche cookies that they made, they stopped making after like 3 years. They were
fine.
They were so good.
I didn't care for those as much, but I do love the lemon ones. The s'mores ones are my favorite.
I don't like the lemon ones.
I love I didn't think, I was like, these are going to be fine. And I bought a box. I was like, I need like 17 more boxes of these because they're so good. And I also be planning a trip to Disney next month. And it is just off the cuff because it's my friend Becca's 30th birthday. And we're going to see if we can figure out how to do like a weekend at Disney.
Yeah, but are you going to come up here for my 30th birthday?
You're coming here. We're going to go see Beetlejuice.
Oh, no, that's in April. I'm not doing it on my birthday weekend. I can't. Beetlejuice won't be open yet.
I don't even remember what day it opens.
Sometime in April.
Okay. Maybe. Yes, I'll try.
Okay. I'm just going to rent a cabin for my birthday.
Ooh. I'll tell you the same thing I told Becca. I have to see where my finances are and see how the bar is doing to make sure I have extra income for that. That's my thing holding me up from doing anything.
Which is fair.
Can I fly to there? Is that insane?
I mean, it's not. I've done it.
Okay. Because I feel like you're just like, it's a long way, but it just feels so close.
Yeah, it feels
because you're in the same state.
It's an hour drive. It's about, or an hour flight. It's about an 8 to 9 hour drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't have a car.
Fair.
Right.
It's like a 10-hour bus ride.
I bet I could do that. I bet I could fly in like Friday night and fly out Saturday afternoon.
My problem is I'm planning on driving to a remote cabin, which is not actually going to be here.
Oh.
It's here, but like I'm planning on going somewhere near water and woods and mountains. Yes. So you probably wouldn't really be able to do it.
I might could. You don't know.
Okay. Well.
Or we'll just celebrate when you come to watch Beetlejuice.
Fair.
That's what I do. I don't happen to celebrate events on their time anymore. We celebrated my birthday in August. Me and Rachel's birthday. Her birthday was in June. Mine was November. We celebrated both of them in August. And then we celebrated our Christmas at Thanksgiving. Yeah. So at least it'll be very close to your birthday if we celebrate in April.
That's true. That's true. But April feels really close and also really far away.
I know. We are in 2022. We are in a whole new year.
We are.
We're fine.
We're in 2022. I've worked exactly 3 days so far this year, and I'm just begging to never work again.
I have worked. I've worked every day this year except Sunday. Even though Saturday was really slow, I just stood at the bar and then I had a beer and then I went home. That was all I did Saturday night. I think I helped like 4 customers. It was so slow all night. I'm sorry, I'm not just like getting super close for dramatic effect. My dog is currently climbing behind my back. So
it happens.
But you can take it as dramatic effect as you want, because this episode that we're going to talk about is, I don't know. I don't remember how dramatic it was. I don't think it was that dramatic. It was like, drama, but not like extra. It's fine. It was fun. So I am not even on my right notes page. What am I doing? Okay. So, gosh, I'm pushing buttons now. I'm a mess. So this week, this Wednesday, it's not a new week yet. You just saw us 3 days ago. Is Dead Like Me season 2, episode 2. And it's called The Ledger. I didn't for the longest time know why, but I do understand now. It aired on August 1st, 2004, and it was rated 7.9 out of 10. The number 1 song was still Confessions Part 2 by Usher. I feel like we're going to be in another Beyonce situation where this might be the song for most of the season, because
potentially
we are probably closing up on the summer song, so this is like not really time for a new hit song yet.
True.
And it was a great song, but the number 1 movie was one of my faves to this day. It was M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Good pick. I loved it. Probably watched it around that time. That's what I was watching instead of Dead Like Me in 2004. I was 11. You were now 12.
I was 12. The summer I was 12 was right after my grandpa died. So I don't really think I was watching a lot of anything, because my cousins and I were just trying to have a good summer.
Right.
But I did watch Chicago for the first time that summer.
I have never seen Chicago. I know.
I'm sorry. What?
I know, but I know like every word to Cell Block Tango. And I've never seen it. Now like that I live in New York, I'm like, I should just watch it on Broadway first. Then I can go see it. And I almost bought tickets to go see it on Tuesday night. And then I was like, I just went to the opera last night. I should save this money, which was probably good, because then I didn't work on Wednesday when I was supposed to. But I didn't buy the tickets and I really wanted to. So it's like high up on my list of shows that I want to see that I haven't seen yet. Because I love Cell Block Tango.
I love Chicago.
I've only heard good things. I think it would be right up my alley.
You would be obsessed with it.
That sounds right. I did try to listen to the music while I was studying for the bar, because I went through a period of studying where I just listened to like show tunes. And so I went through Hamilton, I did Wicked, I did Dear Evan Hansen, I went through a few of these. And then I was like, I'll try out some new ones that I haven't seen the show yet. I mean, I hadn't seen any of those shows this time either, but those were the shows I knew already.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I've only listened to Cell Block Tango. So I was like, I'll listen to Chicago. And then I was like, I don't know any of this music, and it's not keeping my attention because I haven't seen the movie or the show. So I decided I'd just wait till after I saw it on Broadway to listen to the music, because I do feel like I will love it after I've seen the show.
Yeah. That was disappointing.
I know. I'm so sorry. I didn't watch movies in 2004 except Grease. That was the only one I watched. And the director of this episode is a new one, Jeff Woolnough, Woolnough, Woolnough. I was like, I'm going to look this up. And I was like, no, I know how to say this. I don't know. I'm going to say Woolnough. So he's best known for shows such as Vikings, which I have not heard of, but it's his most well-known show for him.
You've never heard of Vikings?
No.
Oh,
Now, is it new? Is it
I mean, new-ish.
like, is it good?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll add to my rotation. Battlestar Galactica, I have heard of that.
Okay.
And Being Erica, which I think was an HBO show that I stumble upon a lot, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this because I bet I'd really like it. I think it's in the same vein of show, like it's very like early 2000s style.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it. So those are like what he's most well known for. Most recently, he has also worked on as a director Riverdale, which I have seen. Sabrina, which I've also seen. It's fine. Runaways, which I think I watched the first season, and Cloak and Dagger, which I very much enjoyed. So he's worked on recently 2 Marvel movies and 2 CW shows. So, I mean, shows, not movies. So, like, he's still doing good stuff. And his wife is Claudette Roche, who is known as one of the big characters on Cold Case, which I also haven't seen, but the other people in the world have seen.
Sorry, Jeff Wilno did direct 1 episode of The Vampire Diaries, so I am looking at what episode that is.
Yes, that could be very relevant to both of our lives. Because
it's
like that one.
2 episode.
Oh gosh, okay.
Episode
Take
5.
Me back.
Yeah, season 2, episode 5, Kill or Be Killed. Oh, it's when Tyler is finding out about the Lockwood curse and being a werewolf.
Oh, is that the one where they had the big dance at the Lockwood house? Oh no, that was season 3, I think.
Yeah.
He had already turned by then.
Yeah, this is Mason, his cousin, is there. It's
yes.
It is and it's like that's a good episode.
It was a good episode. We both very much enjoy Vampire Diaries. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's a good one.
I have one of my 5th graders is also obsessed with Vampire Diaries.
Nice,
so
nice.
Her opinion essay she's writing about why it's the best show ever, and I kind of just want to give her 100, even if her essay is terrible.
Right,
but like,
even if it sucks. Right. No. You tell me if there's any good. You tell me all about it. I don't want to read her essay, but I do want you to tell me all about it.
Okay. I will.
So the writers for this episode are Stephen Godshaw and Bridget Fuller, who we've had in the past. They're fine. We like them. Nothing wrong there. So we start this episode talking about obsessions. And George is talking about things she's obsessed with, and we learn that she's obsessed with Post-its, which makes sense because that's part of her life. I'm also obsessed with Post-its, but for a much different reason. Whenever Kathy asked us what supplies we needed, I just said Post-its. I don't know if we have Post-its. We might, but we definitely need more if we have them. So now we have a ton of Post-its.
I go through so many Post-its.
I'm very pleased. I love Post-its. They're so convenient. And so because of this, while she's talking about obsessions and whatnot, she ends up heading over to Rube's house unannounced, and she wants to know about her Post-it. And she starts asking him if he wrote it, what it said, blah, blah, blah. And Rube, as opposed to just answering her question, goes off into this tangent about balance and life and death and how everyone in the world wants to find balance. And
George is being hella angsty this episode, and I'm not a fan of it.
Absolutely being very angsty. She is like overreacting to everything. Like, sure, that's something you want to know, but it's been over a year. Like, you're not just automatically having this like crisis about it now. Like,
yeah,
it's just.
And as I was watching this episode, I realized I don't like George. Like, by the end of this episode, I was just very much like, I realized I don't like George. And my mom was watching the end of the episode with me, and she's like, yeah, I never did. I was like,
I know. That's what I was saying. Like, out of all the characters, she's like the least like she's the one I want to be around the least.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like Mason is a lot, but he's like at least entertaining. And then Daisy is like
Daisy has grown on me so much.
Yeah. And like Roxy's very like fussy, but like I can also get fussy sometimes, and she's also a good person. Rube's just chill. He'd be fine to be around.
Yeah.
And so like otherwise I'm like, George is the one I don't want to be around out of all of these people. She is not fine. But by the end of this rampage of George's and going after Rube, he finally says that yes, he did write her card. He says he didn't know how lovely she was when he wrote it, but he still would have written it.
Oh, I do have notes for this. Before, when she's being
Yes.
angsty and she's yelling at him, she's like, I know you get more information on these post-it on your list than just what you put on the post-it note. Like, what do you know about the people before they die? She's like, I died so young. What all the things I didn't get to do, all blah, blah, blah. Then he's like, you're still here. She's like, I just wanted to be young and silly. He's like, you are young and silly. Like, and it was really sweet. He was like, why are you acting like your life is gone? Like, it's not the life that you wanted. No, it's not the life you thought you were going to get, but you're still here. You still have a body and a mind and all of the things that you wanted to do. Just do them.
But also, like, your life is obviously very different because you can't be with your family. But other than that, like, in 10 years, your life changes drastically. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago. I am not living the same life I was 10 years ago. And George wouldn't be either. So she's just getting a little bit thrown into it a little faster and loses her family a little earlier than others.
And like, I can't say that I wouldn't react the same way. Like, if I didn't have my parents.
Right. No, I absolutely would. But also, like, it's been a year. Like, this, I just feel like if you were going to have a crisis, it should have been early. Like, she's had other crises.
That's what I was saying to my mom. I was like, I just feel like all of the character development we got in the last 3 episodes of the first season have been just completely ignored. And we're back to angsty for no reason.
Yeah. It just came out of nowhere. And so then George says, when she's running off, she says, it's not balance, it's luck. Which, like, they could go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Luck balances out. Sure. So now we're back at with Joy and George Joy and Reggie, and they are selling their house, and Reggie is not pleased about it.
No.
She keeps saying we could be. She tells Joy she's always unhappy, which is very sad. But also, like, I think she's going to be less unhappy when she's divorced from Clancy. So that'll be good for her. No, and Reggie just wants so bad to not move.
I thought they were both being very selfish in that moment. Like, Reggie's being selfish because she's like, I don't care if you're unhappy. I just want my house. Which, like, she's a kid, so I get it. But, like, Joy's also being selfish because she's like, yeah, it doesn't matter if you have your house because I don't want to be unhappy at work anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, they're both just not being very kind.
Right. And, like, they're definitely, like, there's a middle ground that neither of them are finding. Like, I mean, yes, they should move. That's probably the solution, which is like a bummer for Reggie. But also, like, Joy can find a different job and get a house for them that they like and that she doesn't hate.
Joy can go work at Happy Time.
Joy could go work at Happy Time. Brennan sucks. She could take his job.
Oh boy.
But so then we see that Mason is being Mason. He is trying to figure out this shell game. And so he's just sitting there and I don't know if he's doing it yet. He may not be. This is when he's talking to Roxy and he asks her if he can hold her gun.
Yes.
And he promises he won't shoot her, which, like, Mason's kind of a moron. Like, he would still do it on accident. Like, I still wouldn't give him my gun, even if he, like, intentionally was not going to shoot me.
Yeah.
And then he's like acting a fool. And so finally Roxy pulls her gun out on him. And poor Tiffany. She just
yeah. Oh, but so this scene, and then she does pull it out once before. And then she pulls it out again. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
so she pulls it out and like is pointing it at Mason, and poor Tiffany just comes up to take their order and just like doesn't acknowledge it. She's just like I can just like imagine the stuff that she's seen out of this group. Like she has to think she's gone crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, this poor woman. And so yeah, so I was like, he's the last person I would give a gun to. And then George shows up to the diner and they get the check, and then everyone's fussing about the check while George is trying to tell her story about her parents getting a divorce, or no, selling the house. She doesn't know about the divorce yet. And so selling the house and everything, and they're just like not acknowledging her because they're talking about how Roxy didn't get charged for a fruit salad. And she's like, cops eat free, which, hold up. I know that we're not seeing every day, but the police academy is like more than a week or two. Like it's usually like minimum 6 to 8 weeks. And that depends on what state you're in. Like some is more like 4 to 6 months. So like she just like was like, I'm gonna be a police officer. I was like, you're not yet, but okay. I mean, she is, but like it wasn't enough time for her to become one. I would have liked to see police training Roxy.
I mean, maybe she got like an expedited process because she was already a meter maid.
They don't have that. My dad was a cop for 15 years. And then he stopped being a cop for 10 years. And then he went back to work in the jail and he still had to go back through police academy again. Like worked for the same police department and still had to go back through police academy stuff. And
no, Seattle's weird,
so
man.
like,
I don't know.
Seattle is weird. Who knows? But so yeah, so they're all yelling about everything. And Mason gets fussy and he's like, is it true that cops eat free? And Tiffany's like, no, they drink coffee for free. She's like, did you want more coffee? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, there's no, he was like, there's no fruit salad on here. She's like, oh, you're right. I'll get you a new receipt. And then he flips off Roxy and then she shoots him in the leg. And like,
hold on. So the thing was about that scene, my note about the scene is that this might be the best acting so far because
yes.
Basically, Roxy is ignoring George while she's fighting with Mason. But then she decides that, or her and Daisy are having a conversation. Then Mason is trying to talk to them. And then she decides she doesn't want to listen to Mason. So she's going to listen to George. And her and Daisy are listening to George. And there's just this like 4 conversations going on at once and everyone ignoring the perfect person to be ignoring in that situation. Yeah. And it just was like really, really brilliant acting.
It worked really well. Yeah, I agree.
Then she does shoot him and his acting in response to being shot is also brilliant.
Yes. So that was an excellent scene. I also would have shot him. Maybe not at a diner where other people were, because theoretically she should probably be arrested if not a cop for that, because you're not just supposed to shoot your friends at a diner.
What? No.
I know. And like it's not like they didn't hear it. Like everyone looked up. So
yeah.
It's fine. Just a little discrepancy. It's cool.
It's great.
So then we go to Rube at the magazine stand. He is working on his next person, his next Post-it note. And this guy, he steals some food or something. I didn't even see what he grabbed because I was too busy, like, just listening to Rube, I guess. And this guy takes some food and runs off, and he's, like, dodging cars like it's Frogger. I truly thought he was going to get hit. And then he leaps over this, like, thing and falls straight into a hole and dies. And I was like, how? How did this happen? And I burst out laughing, first of all, because it really caught me off guard.
And then, comedic gold, Rube asks what an accidental fish is for his crossword. And the guy says, fluke.
Yes.
The puns.
Incredible. I know. I love a good pun. Love a good pun. And then we go back to the diner, and this is where Mason pulls out the shells and is doing. Is that called the hat trick? Like, is that what they call it?
The shell game.
But do they call it something different, right?
I've only ever heard it called the shell game. People will use different names for it depending on what they're moving around.
What item? Yeah, I've usually seen it with like cups and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Call it what you will. And so he's moving all of this around, and Daisy is still wearing her cross that she stole from old Sully after she died. And she's now religious. And
she's now very Catholic.
Yes, very Catholic. And I just put Rube must be from the South, because whenever they were talking about the Holy Trinity, he says, well, we're in a restaurant, even though it's a German restaurant, so this does not go. But
I mean, yeah, but it's a diner.
I know, but it's a Cajun thing. And they say, he says peppers, onions, and celery. And that is the Holy Trinity of the South. And that's why I am a sinner, I guess, because I don't like any of those things. I know. I can cook with them, but I don't like them. Like, my mom's dressing has onions and celery in it, and it's the best dressing I've ever had in my life. But
dressing isn't stuffing, not salad dressing, right?
Dressing as in dressing, not stuffing, but yes.
Okay. It's dressing if it's not in the bird, stuffing if it is, but
yes, and stuffing's more bready. Dressing is not as bready.
Yeah, dressing's not good.
Dressing's amazing. You have not had. We have my grandfather's recipe, and it is. I'm going to make you dressing one day.
No, stuffing. Only stuffing.
Mm-mm. Agree to disagree. I will make you dressing one day, and you will love it. It's an event. So at this point, we find out that George's bike has been stolen, which is like
to the trouble.
I know. And I'm like,
when Rube said that her bike was stolen, I was like, what kind of idiot doesn't lock up their bike? But then you find out that she did lock it up, and they just took it and left the tire that was locked up. And who goes to that much trouble? Like, who spends that much time worrying about the freaking getting it off of the bike tire?
And also, like, there's windows and no one noticed this was happening.
Right.
Like, I don't know whose side was facing the bike, but like in their booth, one of those sides is facing where the bike was. So like, you would think someone would notice it.
Daisy was on the side that would see it. So we blame Daisy.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's fair. It's only fair. And then they're talking about like what they would do if it got stolen or whatever. And Mason just says he would steal someone else's bike. I was like, of course you would. He's like, eye for an eye. I'm like, but it's not even the right person. It's like,
he said, an eye for an eye, a schwinn for a schwinn.
Yeah, I was like, that's not how it goes.
No, he said that he would get revenge, which doesn't necessarily mean that he would steal another person's bike.
Well, he did. He ended it by saying, I'll steal someone's bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, that's not how it goes. And then one thing, they were talking about things being pretty. And Rube said, it just made me sad, even though it didn't really have a lot of context. He just said, sometimes pretty things just disappear. I was like, that's sad, though.
It is.
Ugh. I bet he's talking about his daughter. I will come back to that every time until I know what happened.
Until you know. Yeah.
Yes. So that was sad. And then we went back to currently Joy's house that Clancy is moving out of, that they're about to sell, I guess. And she's going through George's things, and we see a flashback to making handprints and how nice of a family they were, and it was lovely, and Clancy was nice, and they were just a happy little family. Just a short flashback. Then we're at the police station, and George is trying to file for her stolen bike. And at Okay, that happens next. So he gives her this paperwork and tells her to go fill it out. And so she goes and sits down beside this old lady and this young guy. She realizes the young guy has been stabbed. And so she's like he's stabbed. I think he's stabbed. And he's like looking at his paperwork. She's like, yep, sharp knife. And I mean, sharp object. And then she realizes she's been talking to them. It was with a knitting needle. This old woman has stabbed this guy.
And the old lady goes, yeah, he had it coming.
And I was like, you know what? Probably did. But I love how calm she's like just sitting beside him. No, because
the old lady said that she was there to file a police report for somebody having fondled her on a bus. So this man touched her butt on a bus, and her response was to stab him with the knitting needle. And honestly, same.
Yeah. And I was like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it was just so funny how calm she was about it. Like, how many people do you think she stabbed with these knitting needles? Like, to be so calm, because that's not like a first time stabbing. I mean, I haven't stabbed anyone, but I'm guessing that's not a first time stabbing. Yeah. So she's lived a life.
Yeah.
And so we go back to the diner. Again, we're discussing the shell game. And
yeah, and I just said, what the fuck is Mason's deal today?
He starts talking about his cat-like movements. And then he is the slowest person I have ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, what is happening? And then we see him pour alcohol in his drink. And I was like, oh, it's because he's drinking.
Yeah. Well, and every time he started talking about the shell game, every single person was like, are you drinking again? And he was like, no, I just want to make more money. But obviously he was drinking again. But the funniest part about this scene is he keeps talking about his cat-like movements, and Rube is trying to help him like become more smooth or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'm moving like a cat. And Rube goes, yes, but right now I'm worried about a movement that happens just about this time every day, and there's nothing cat-like about it. And I was like, I relate so hard.
I know. Rube, he's got him. He's got all the one-liners.
He does. He's the best part of the show, really.
Truly, truly. Him and Mason always crack me up when they're together. They're two extremes of one another.
Like, I've never met two people who should not be in the same room ever.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Yes, you are absolutely correct. So now we're back at the police station, and she's talking about filing for her stolen bike, and he's just like, okay, like he doesn't care. He could not care less. And Roxy walks in and she takes it and she's like, I'll file it. And she's like, oh, what are you gonna do? She said, you can know it's filed now. It's on the books. And I was like, this is exactly how they handle this. Like, yeah. Which is insane. Like I don't remember if I talked about this already. It's not a happy moment. My Mimi's house got robbed a couple weeks back, and
gosh,
like a lot. And all of her dolls and stuff are missing now. But she had like a whole ton of like Madame Alexander and all these like old porcelain dolls and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And they all got robbed. And we filed it with the police department in the city, not the one my dad works for because he works for the parish, but the one in the city that you have to go through. And like, they've done nothing. Like, they filed a report. And I was like, my dad called the people who were doing it and they didn't even arrest him. Like, he was there and saw them stealing things and got their license plate number and name. Like, it was insane. So that's my grievance for today, I guess. But so very realistic. That's what I'm trying to say. This police office is very realistic in how they handle stolen objects.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. I get that it's not murder, but like it's still important.
Yeah, but I mean, like even still, like I know I've only had to file a police report once, and it was somebody shot up my car windows. I mean, it was with a BB gun, but they were still like messed up my car windows. Yeah. And I mean, on the police report, like obviously there was nothing they could really do about it, but they still like were nice to me and like took it seriously and like gave me a copy of the police report number so that I could take it with me to the glass repair shop and get my windows like fixed.
Yeah, I've only had to file my own police report. My gun got stolen when I lived in New Orleans out of my car. And I understand I shouldn't have left it in my car. That's my fault. My car was locked, but they broke into my car because I lived in a little bit of a sketchy part of town.
Yeah.
And I filed a police report, and I didn't know exactly when it got stolen because it was in my car and then it wasn't in my car. Like,
Right.
I don't know. It just happened. And so they were mad at me because I didn't know the exact time it got stolen. And they were really fussy with me. But I was like, I have to file this because I have to make sure my serial number is documented as stolen. So if somebody commits a murder, like, it's not on me. And they gave me the police report with the number to check back, and nothing ever happened. So that's good. But yes. So, and these are all different police departments. Each one of them have been a different one. They just don't care about stolen things. I don't know what it is. Like, it's a crime. Theft is a crime. I am a lawyer.
Yeah, it is indeed a crime. We do know theft is a crime based on the next scene when this man tells Millie and Dolores that theft means, what did it say? Thieves. Did you write it down?
I did not write it down because it was stupid. It was something like it was just really stupid. But I will tell you, this was one of my trivia for the end. The very last word is supposed to say time, and the speaker says thought instead of time. So like on the board it says time, but then when he says it out loud, he says thought. And that was a goof. So speaking of that, I'm sorry, we went off on a tangent.
We sure did.
And
it's okay.
It's okay. We're back now. And before we go to Happy Times, we see Joy going through a box of Clancy stuff, and she finds a book from good old Charlotte to Clancy. And she's just like super in her feels about it. And then we go to Happy Times, and George walks in late, and she's like, where is everyone? Did someone think it was a Saturday or something like that? And Crystal tells her they're all in a meeting, but she has to answer phone, so she's not in the staff meeting. And so she goes in there, and they're having this whole thing about theft. And somebody's stealing stuff, and I was like, this is such a like ridiculous. Turns out they're stealing like little supplies. It's like they took a ballpoint pen and post-it notes. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yes, but did you see how many post-it notes George
stole? I did. And I was just like, but even so, it seemed ridiculous, especially at the time in the episode when we saw it. And so he's like, are you happy here or something? And Dolores just leans over and she's like, tell him you're happy. George is like, yeah, I'm happy. It's like Dolores and George in this scene were cracking me up.
And then he's like, blah, blah, blah about theft. And then he's like, rip off. And she goes, you mean rip of?
Yeah.
And he was like, something kept saying, like, he was like, oh, so we got ourselves a smart ass. She's like, oh, don't you mean a smart ass? And I was like, literally, Millie is me in meetings. Only I don't say those things out loud. I just whisper them to the person I'm next to.
Right. Oh my gosh. But when he said rip off, the O stands for ostracize. And I was like, what kind of rule is this? Like, report, identify.
If there is someone in your company who is stealing something, you report them. You identify them. I forgot what the P was.
I don't remember either.
And then you ostracize
them and then fire them. And I was like, why do you have to ostracize them first? Why is that necessary?
To make them know that their crime was...
You single them out.
Yeah.
Throw them on a deserted island. I don't know. I was just like, that is a
make sure that they feel the wrath of their...
Especially for stealing a Post-it note. Like,
listen.
It's a lot.
I treat my students like that when they steal my Post-it notes.
Okay, but they don't need your Post-it notes. Like, they're not communal Post-it notes.
No.
Like, office Post-it notes are communal Post-it notes. Like, it's fine. But that was just the stupidest seminar. I would have been so annoyed if I had to sit through that too. And then we go to the street where Mason is actively trying to use the shell game. And he's terrible at it. He's losing. Everyone seems to know all of the answers. And I was trying to think, did you ever do some kind of like strange scam or anything for money?
Did I?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't either. I was like, I really feel like I was missing out. Like the only thing I did that was like, but it was like all kids. Like we had like a lemonade stand that we just like squeezed lemons into a cup and sold it. But it was in the middle of nowhere. So like 2 people bought it. And one of them was like a family member of ours. So like, it was like the closest thing I ever had to a scam.
No.
And I'm super bummed. Now I want to like go scam someone. Not like for good. I'd like give them their money back. I just want to see if I could do it.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'd do. Gosh, we're missing out. If I become a Grim, though, I'm telling you, I'm scamming everyone. No consequences. I'm in. I'm doing it. So watch out. So then we go back to George's original home, and Clancy is there. He's bought a car, and Joy tells him it's a chick magnet. She's clearly still mad, as she should be. And then they start reminiscing, and I was like, no, no, no. It's like, I am not here for this. And then Clancy's a jerk again. He's like, I'm keeping this. And then he's like, we decided to separate things by who brought them into the house. And then he also like asked for her necklace back that his mother gave her. He didn't even give it to her. He's like, but I brought it into the house. She's like, no, your mother gave it to me. I brought it into the house. And then she said he was gonna have to rip it off of her cold dead body. I was like, there you go. And so they're clearly not reconciling.
No.
But I am concerned at this point that we're gonna have this all season, and I'm gonna get real over real fast.
Well, poor Reggie.
Oh, I know. She's like going through her sister dying. Now she's going through a divorce. Now she's going through all of like the fighting that goes along with the divorce. And she had her weird toilet seat thing. Like she's not having an
and it's not even, yeah, it's like her parents are so childish. I don't think that either one of them is valuing her at all. And that's
not at all. Ugh. No, because it's like she was asking about George's handprint thing, and she's like, did I have one? And they were just like, yeah, it probably got lost. And it's like, you've definitely not lost your dead child's, but you've lost mine. Like, and they were theoretically made at the same time if she were to have one. I was just like, that's kind of sad.
Well, no, they wouldn't have been made it. They wouldn't have been made at the same time because they're 8 years apart in age. So like baby handprints wouldn't have been.
I guess that's true. But I was just like, that's sad. And then when she was talking about like she wanted to give her necklace to her daughter, I think she wanted to give it to George and not Reggie. And I was like, this is so sad for Reggie. Like,
yeah.
Ugh. So now we're back at happy times. And I just put, George is clearly the thief. Everyone's pulling their bags away from her. And she's walking down and she knows she's taking Post-it notes. And so she's just like, it's obviously me. Like, doesn't care, but she's like, it's obviously me.
Yeah.
And then she finds a Post-it note on her desk that she has to go take a soul. And so she's like running out of there because she's clearly running late, doesn't have a car or a bike. And Dolores stops her, and they have this like flash to where she tells Dolores everything that's true. And Dolores is just like, ha, ha, ha. And then it cuts back to show that she didn't really do it. And I wish
that's what I was like. I wish she would have said that.
With everything in me, I wish she would have told her. Like, and Crystal's non-reaction would have fit right in. Like, she knows. She helped them one night. So, like, but instead she uses the AA meeting, and that's what she uses every time. I feel like I understand that I'm not in AA, but, like, she uses it a lot.
Well, and even she says that. She's like, I really have dug myself way too deep in this ex-drug addict business.
Right. So I don't know. She's got to come up with a new excuse soon. So she gets to the mall, and this guy is doing food kitchen time or something, and he calls it Bascachi Hibachi Tango. And I love him. I could not get enough of him. These people, though, are super unenthused. They could not care less if he was talking or alive or anything. They're just there.
Yeah.
And so his contraption that he is trying to sell is a fruit guillotine.
Kitchen guillotine.
And he is trying, so he's like cutting the fruit to juice it or whatever and show how easy it is, even though I'm still not super sure how that juices it well or what it has to do with keeping the rind. But he says it's not as expensive as buying juice and it's easier. I don't know. But no one else does either, except this one guy who claps and says fun kitchen time or whatever it is he has to say. Fun time kitchen, maybe. I don't know. So naturally, this whole time I'm expecting him to cut his hand off. And we keep seeing this, and then we see the Grim come out whenever George gets called up there to participate with him. She is not a good on-the-spot actress for his fun time kitchen. She is very dull. I mean, she's also very dull and dead like me, but better actor than that.
Dull all the time.
Yes. We see the little Graveling come out, and I was like, okay, he's about to like get like a concussion from the like over thing. No. He says you can have fresh mimosas forever, and then the like canopy thing falls on him, and his head goes straight into the kitchen guillotine and chops his head off like a regular guillotine. And
well, it didn't chop his whole head off because it landed in his forehead. Yeah, right in his forehead.
Yeah, and I just put, I would like fresh mimosas forever, but at what cost? Like,
my favorite part was that his dead soul looks down and was like, "Am I dead?" And George was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Knew that blade wasn't safe."
I know. I know. I was like, you are the most like telemarketing type seller that I've ever seen. Like,
well, and then George takes the keys from his pocket and it's gonna take his car, and then she's just walking away with him. And my mom brought up a very good question that I've kind of had before. Can everyone just see her walking away with her arm around nobody?
I don't know what anyone sees. We have had the discussion about who sees what form of George, and maybe if once they die, she goes invisible too.
Right, like that's. But then, how does she just like disappear? Does people saw her up there? I don't know. I don't know
either. It's not well thought out. Yes. So this part we actually go back. This is where we go back to Joy and Clancy, and Clancy's trying to take the necklace back. And she asks about the handprints, and yeah, and that was it. I've already talked about this entire scene. So then we're going back to George, and she's decided she's finding her own balance with Mason's technique of just stealing a dead person's thing. And so she takes, what was this? Bascachi's car. It's really Bascachi Hibachi. I'm going to say that all the time, and everyone's going to think I'm a lunatic. Yeah, so she takes his car and all of his kitchen guillotines and drives off into the sunset. Not really, but out of the parking garage. And we go back to Daisy, who has become uber religious, which is very strange for her. And I realized very quickly she goes into this like antique shop, and it has like cross necklaces and other things. The cross necklaces are the only thing that's really important. And I realized very quickly that this guy is her post-it note guy.
Oh, yeah.
It was very obvious. And he says he's so like you just want to roll your eyes at him, but he's also a very sweet human. And he says, do you want to see something pretty? And then he like takes 1,000 years to like get up on this stool that's like seems like it's gonna fall over. It's very unstable. And he pulls out a mirror and shows it to Daisy and just shows her face. I was like, that's very sweet, but that was a lot of effort for like
just to tell her she was pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're talking about the necklaces again. He says, are you Catholic? And she says, a little bit. And I was like, I've never related to Daisy before because I've definitely said that. Because, like, I'm religious and I am not baptized Catholic. I've not been confirmed, but I did go to a Catholic law school. My mom is Catholic. Her side of the family is Catholic. And I've been to, like, mass and stuff. And now if I'm going to go to church, I go to, like, St. Patrick's to pray and stuff. So, like, I'm a little Catholic.
I was baptized Catholic. I've been to almost entirely exclusively Catholic school. I teach at a Catholic school. I go to mass every week, and I am not Catholic. So I also feel that.
Yes, just a little bit Catholic. It's fine. Yeah. So now he climbs up on the stool again to put the mirror back, and the whole cabinet falls over on him and crushes him, and he dies. And when he comes back as his soul or whatever, he tells her she should take the mirror, and she's like, I'd really rather a cross. And he's like, take whatever you want. So she picks out a new cross that she really likes, and he's very pleased. She's very pleased with it. We go back to Mason, and now he's trying to sell these guillotines. George keeps calling them guillotines.
George has emptied the trunk of her car that she's stolen and given all of the wares to Mason to peddle illegally on the street.
Yes, and he keeps calling them guillotines, and it really bothers me, in case you didn't notice.
Which I think British people do call them guillotines.
And they might, and they would all bother me. It's not limited to just Mason.
Yeah.
But that same guy who kept saying kitchen fun time and the one guy clapping at the mall is also in this crowd of people. And he keeps saying fun time kitchen or whatever.
He is really creepily obsessed with the kitchen guillotine.
He is. I think he uses it to kill people. I think he knows that the blade is not good for cutting fruit. It's good for killing.
Canon. Side story. Spinoff. Kitchen fun time murderer.
Ooh, I like it. But then I'm going to need more than just the kitchen guillotine. We need more, like, weapons.
But all the weapons are kitchen gadgets, like slap chop.
Well, no, absolutely.
Slap chop to the forehead.
Chopstick to the eye. But you got to get, like, the, like, crystal ones, like a nice one, not like the wooden ones.
But, like, I just imagine somebody who, like, every infomercial kind of, like, not just regular kitchen gadgets, like, only, like, infomercial kitchen gadgets.
Oh, yeah.
Like the impossible egg omelet thing.
Yes. And there was one, I don't remember what it was. I think it was some kind of grill thing that they played the infomercial while we were at Portico in Ruston. And Caitlin wouldn't stop watching this stupid infomercial. We were trying to have dinner and talk to each other, and she ignored us for 20 minutes watching this infomercial on this stupid, like, grill.
George Foreman grills.
It wasn't even a George Foreman. Ugh. It was some, like, off-brand. I was like, stop it. But I digress. I like this. I like Kitchen Fun Time Murders. It makes me think of, what is the... Oh, it's like Fun Time something. Or it's the little animals that are evil.
Oh, Happy Tree Friends.
Happy Tree Friends. That's the one. Very, very similar to Kitchen Fun Time Murders. Yes. They would go hand in hand. I like it. So we're back with George. She has driven her new car to her home, her parents' home, and they're doing an open house. She noticed it was for sale, so they're doing the open house. And she goes to look at their home, and I just said, this is the saddest way for George to find out about divorce. Like, she finds out from this, like, third party that she doesn't even know.
Yeah, the realtor tells her.
Ugh. And then she goes up to see her old room because that's where she liked to cry when she was sad about things. And it's so empty. There's like an exercise ball and a treadmill. And it's not even that like it's changed from her room. There's just nothing there.
Yeah.
And it is so sad. And I just put poor George. She finds all of her life is in that one box. Mm-hmm. And it's very depressing.
It was.
So then we have this brief foray into happy time where Dolores gets invited to karaoke happy hour and declines.
Yes.
Well, and they're like, everyone's invited and Crystal's not invited. I was like, I mean, I don't think Crystal would want to go, but like, don't be rude. Like, yeah, you know, I was not pleased with that. So then we're back at the diner. And Rube is sitting at the table by himself listening to a classical piece of music that I meant to look up which one it was, and I didn't. So sorry about it. And George comes in and is talking about, he sees the keys and he's like, where did these come from? She's like, it's balance. It was meant for me. And he's kind of going back and forth. He's like, okay. And then she's just like, Rube, I had a really bad day. And she talks about her parents' divorce. And he finally tells her, which is true. He says, death doesn't cause divorce. It was something that was already overdue. He said it was like an already overdue burial or something. And like, that's true. Yeah. Like, which is sad. No, it's the thing that pushed them over the edge, but they needed it.
No, and it is. But I also like, I know I was reading, speaking of being Catholic, my pastor, because I go to church online, so I've never met my pastor, but my online pastor, his son committed suicide. Mm-hmm. And so he and his wife, obviously, like, that was difficult for them, but they talked a lot in like sermons after he died about how the majority of people who lose a child also divorce because you never learned how to bury your own kid. Like, that's like a trauma that is so difficult. Unless you like learn how to grieve with each other, you grieve apart.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so sad.
Yeah.
A very uplifting episode. But on a positive note, when Rube leaves, he sends over chocolate ice cream for George. And I was just like, and that's probably...
He also leaves a Post-it note on the windshield of the car that just says drive carefully, since he knows she doesn't have a driver's license and probably shouldn't be driving her car anyway.
Yes. And I think if I was upset, chocolate is like a good go-to for me. It's one of my favorites. See, what's your go-to?
Ice cream.
This whole episode, we just can't be friends. I don't know.
I hate chocolate ice cream. I don't know. Like, I like chocolate. I love chocolate milk. I love chocolate, actual chocolate. I love like hot cocoa, but chocolate ice cream, something about the kind of chocolate that is in chocolate ice cream is just, I hate it.
You're a crazy person. What's your go-to for ice cream?
I don't know. See, this is really hard for me because I worked in an ice cream shop for so long that I stopped eating ice cream because it was like overwhelming. But probably if I just was like really sad and I needed ice cream, Ben and Jerry's cheesecake core ice cream.
My Ben and Jerry's go-to is half-baked. I like the froyo version.
I do like froyo a lot.
Mm-hmm. Me too. My favorite ice cream of all time is Eskimos in West Monroe. It's so good. If we are ever there at the same time, I will take you.
I had mochi ice cream today.
I haven't had that in a very long time. You know what I've never had that I've always wanted, though? I've never had rolled ice cream.
I've had rolled ice cream. I've had fried ice cream. I've had mochi ice cream.
Oh, I love fried ice cream. My sushi place across the street does an excellent fried ice cream. I'm thinking about having sushi and fried ice cream for lunch tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. Rolled ice cream is okay. It's a little freezer burny for my
So that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I just want it because I've never had it.
Right.
And I don't like not having things that I want.
Okay.
Yes. I need to have things at least once if I'm interested in them.
Yeah,
So,
that's
rolled ice
fair.
cream.
I was like, there's not a lot that I like really want to try that I've never tried when it comes to like food. I want something.
I'm sure there is a lot because I really want to try a lot of weird things. But like off the top of my head, rolled ice cream is the one. And I have tried a lot of weird things. So like,
yeah.
I don't know if there's like a lot left.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there is.
That's the thing. I mean, there's probably tons that I've never tried that I've just never heard of.
Yeah. So I just love trying new things. Someone just slammed the door when they came in. They had a bad day. So that's basically the end of the episode. We have our wrap up. Daisy is stoked about George having a car, obviously. She tries to put her cross on the rearview mirror, and George very swiftly takes it off. And then we see this flash to Crystal in her apartment, and it turns out that Crystal's been stealing all the post-it notes, and she has a gazillion post-it notes. She has like a whole warehouse full of them, it seems like, in her closet. It's so many.
I mean, but
so
honestly, who's surprised that Crystal's a klepto?
Not at all. I loved it. It just adds to why I love her. Yeah. And at the very end, it seems like George is finally ready to start living, which is similar to how your episode ended. She was very happy at the end of it. And this is like in these last two episodes, even though she's like been sad and like angsty, she's had more happy moments than she ever has, which is off brand for her character, which is so strange.
But like also like this episode, it ends with her not just being happy, like she's meeting George or Mason out like with his friends and like accepting that
drinking a beer and
like her life now.
Yeah, and that's good for her. And I hope she continues to develop that way. I'm just skeptical that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, one can only hope.
Yes. So we have a couple of things for trivia. There's whenever they're talking about stolen bikes at the beginning and George and Mason are arguing about it, Mason says, "Don't be huffy," which this I did not know, but Huffy is a brand of bike, which falls in line with all of the puns that he makes that he doesn't know about. And so I thought that was fun.
I don't think that one was intentional.
I don't know if it was either, but I'd like to believe it was. So I also don't know if this is intentional because I meant to look up when this show came out. Carnival, not our show. But when Mason loses to the blind man and the curly-headed woman, they apparently strike a very, very close resemblance to HBO's Carnival mind reader Luds and Lady Lila.
Okay, well, but Carnival did come out in 2003.
Okay.
But also, it was a remake.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That seemed a little far-fetched, but I liked it. I liked the connection there, so I said
I mean, it came out before the show, but I swear that it was... I'm trying to think.
I think another one came out like 2 years ago as a remake. Like, I think they remade Carnival like 2 years ago.
No.
On Amazon.
Oh, did they?
I think so.
There was something that came out around the same time as Carnival. That's what I'm thinking of. That was not.
I don't know.
No, I just remember my ex told me about Carnival and another show that he said I had to watch both of them and they were really good. And one of them was a remake of a show from like the 60s. And I thought it was Carnival, but it wasn't. It's the other one. But now I'm blanking on what the other one was. So, and it's not like I can text him. Mostly because he's not in the country right now. But also I would never text him. So.
Right. That's fine. Probably best. So we also had a couple of goofs. So I told you the one about where on the theft on the board said time is the last part, and then he said out loud thoughts.
Yeah.
But the other one is when the guy was guillotined and they flashed to a shot of him, he's apparently clearly still breathing in that scene. I didn't notice that, but it's because I don't notice anything.
Yep,
and I was like,
either.
I was like, okay, that's like, because I agree with you on like certain continuity things that like don't make sense. And like I don't really like, they had another one where like the necklace was like lower on the mannequin than it was, or like on the neck mannequin than it was before. And I'm like, okay, that's like not a
Yeah,
huge
no,
deal.
things like one of the ones that I didn't say last week or
Yeah.
last episode was that Roxy's coffee mug in one scene was slightly different than it was in the other scene. And I was like, I
Right.
don't care.
Yeah. And so they had a couple like that, but I was like, I don't need those. But the fact that the guy is like clearly still breathing, I was like, okay, that's funny. I didn't notice it, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Um, so who do you want to punch this episode?
George.
Mhm.
George
Fair.
was angsty and annoying all
Mhm.
episode. I was done with her today.
I think I wanted to, as much as I loved him, no, I've changed. I want to punch the guy who sat at the front desk at the police station because he did nothing.
He
It
was
was
kind of
useless.
rude. Kind of rude.
Yes, and that was unnecessary. So who was your MVP?
Honestly, everybody kind of sucked this episode. Probably Rube. Rube was the only one that I didn't want to like punch.
I think my MVP may have been Joy. She kept it together much better than I feel like she should have. And she made some good quips about Clancy being the worst. So like, and she's still like, life is still going. Like she took Reggie to her drum lesson and she made sure that like she got to school and she's making sure that like the house is getting packed up against sold. So like she's handling everything.
Yeah.
And it's not her fault. Like, so
right.
I feel like it's only fair that she makes these snappy remarks at him. And
yeah, I just wish she wouldn't do it in front of a child.
No, I agree. I wish it was not.
Because
the
other thing
child,
is, we have to remember. I know it's hard to remember this because I don't think Britt McPhillips looks as young as she really is. But Reggie's supposed to be 11.
Yeah,
that's not how an 11-year-old like. It's frustrating.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that.
And part of that is because I don't think they're characterizing her as 11.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you're thinking about it, like my students are between, like my students are all between 10 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never imagine their parents talking in front of them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I agree. But I still think Joy is mine because she's doing a lot.
She's doing the best she can, really.
Yeah. So, do you have any predictions for next time?
Well, this is not a prediction. It's kind of a prediction, but I don't really want it to be. But based on how season 2 has been going so far, my guess is that George will be mad about something and get a little bit of character development, but then return to being pissed off again for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Fair. I have a few. I wrote them down this week.
Oh.
So I've already said this, but I have a feeling we're going to get bored with Clancy and Joy before they finish that storyline.
Probably.
I think that George is going to start being a little happier. I think she's going to get angsty about something because she does that. But like, just based on how the last 2 episodes have ended, she has to get happier about something. Like,
unless she doesn't, and that's why this season got canceled.
I mean, that's fair too. I think next episode we're gonna have to get something deeper. We've been pretty surface level with a lot of the characters lately, and we just have to have something next episode. It's just gonna have to be there. Mm-hmm. And I think that before this season is over, Roxy's gonna shoot someone. Maybe that's a hope and not a prediction. But
I think we are gonna get a little bit more stuff with Rube because he's been really cranky lately
and alone a lot.
Yeah. I think that we're gonna have to address Mason's alcoholism.
Yep.
I think Daisy is going to continue on this path of Catholicism and become puritanical. I don't know. Be interesting. I
Yeah.
think there's some potential for it to be interesting, but then as long as there's a couple storylines that are gonna get stale fast and they have to just focus on the ones that are not.
They need to like cut it off on the ones that are
Yeah.
slowing down. Especially like Joy and Clancy are not involved in the rest of the story
Right.
at all. Like George is not like they are trying really hard to keep George connected to them,
Yeah.
but it's like not happening. Like
Well,
they
and
don't
then
need to be in the
and
show.
then
I
the
love
other
Joy. I want her in the show, but like
right. And then the other storyline that I am afraid is getting a little stale is Happy Time. Like I get that George needs a
yeah.
job and everything, but the relationship between George and Dolores is probably the most static relationship, and it's just there for humor, and it's not really doing much for me anymore.
Right. I agree. So we'll see.
If you have predictions or thoughts or want to argue about your favorite kind of ice cream, you can message us on any of the social media platforms at Death and Aliens and email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow me at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you next week for another episode of Dead Like Me.
Yay!
Bye.
See ya.